Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV presents Beyond the Realm. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time that I go live on this channel. All right. Go ahead and please like and share the video. Please like and share the video. Okay. So that we draw more people into the viewing through the algorithm. Hello, Eric, Moonfae. Obsidian Blaze, this is Black. Haven't seen you in the chat in a while, Obsidian Blaze. Emperor Rex, Judah Queen. Hiram X, Dervis. All right, so let's get into it. Hey, Cutie Tootie. Says I'm black and waiting. This should be very interesting. Hello, Sweet Pea, Pearly, Howard. GA Fit Health. Flow Records is Black. All right. Alvin, Ladybug. 444 watching me. Crystal. Let's get into it, people. Let me get that off the screen. Okay. So I hope everyone enjoyed that Saturday. So this story isn't scary as per usual. You know, I like to do the scary stories. So, hey, Blackfoot, warrior goddess. This story is about reincarnation. Now, some people believe in reincarnation. Some people don't. I happen to be one of the people that do. And I found this story very interesting. Okay. Found it very interesting indeed. So we're going to talk about it. Now, this little white boy told his mother that in a past life, he was a black woman. And he had receipts. So I'm going to have to say I believe him. He had those receipts, people. Now, many people say many things, right? They don't always have proof or they can't substantiate their claims. As far as I'm concerned, this child had some receipts. So we're going to talk about those receipts and what he had to say. Okay? When Luke Ruehlman began talking about a woman by the name of Pam, his mother, Erica, assumed it was just an imaginary friend. And that's another thing, people, when your children tell you that they have a friend that they're talking to and you think it's an imaginary friend, yeah, more likely than not, those are spirits. All right, children are very sensitive. They're very perceptive and intuitive, and they actually have sixth sense, okay? As they get older and these things are shunned, and, you know, people talk down on these things or whatever and make them feel like they're doing something wrong. Well, those things become dormant and they don't use them, interact with that ability or harness it. But when they're young and innocent and no one has told them not to do it, then they absolutely, this feels normal to them. Okay? Now, his mother, Erica, thought it was just an imaginary friend. She had no idea when her toddler son had picked up the name. She had no idea where he picked up the name or why he was so obsessed with it. Now, the Ohio woman said she initially didn't think it was strange, other than the fact that the family didn't know anyone by the name of Pam. But things became really strange when she quizzed him about where he had got that name from and why he liked it so much. Now, the 2-year-old, because he was only 2 at this time, mind you, the 2-year-old told his parents that he used to be Pam. He said he was Pam. He was a girl and he had black hair. So she says, I was like, what do you mean you were? He was like, well, I used to be her, but I died. And I went up to heaven and I saw God. And eventually God pushed me back down. When I woke up, I was a baby and you named me Luke. This is what the little child told her. Now, can you imagine? And clearly kids can't make this stuff up at this early of an age. He was a toddler. Now, she pressed him further. She started asking him about Pam and how did Pam die? And Luke says, he looked right at her and he said, yeah, it was in a fire. And at that point, he made like a motion with his hand. He made a motion with his hand like someone was pushing someone off of something, right? Or like someone was jumping off of a building. And then Luke went on to explain that Pam had died in a tall building and had traveled on the train in Chicago. The curious mother was baffled since the family had never even visited Chicago, nor had they ever mentioned it to Luke. Now, a quick internet search revealed that there was a fire that had killed 19 people in 1993 at the city's Paxton Hotel. One of the people that died was a woman in her 30s by the name of Pam Robinson, a black woman. By now, the family, including Luke's grandmother, Lisa Trump, no relation to Donald, I'm sure, Lisa Trump, they were convinced there was more to the story than just mere coincidence. You see, his grandmother had read books about reincarnation, you know, She'd read books about that years prior, so she knew a little bit about it. Now, they later appeared on the show called The Ghost Inside My Child. And to test Luke, they spread out a series of photos and asked the now 5-year-old to pick out Pam's picture. Because when he initially started talking about Pam, I believe that he was like 2 or 3 years old. So by the time he was 5, they took him on the show, and then the people asked him, they put a bunch of pictures in front of him and asked him if he could pick out Pam. Because the reason they had found a picture of Pam, remember, is they found out about that fire at the Paxton Hotel in Chicago where 19 people had died. And this hotel was in a predominantly black neighborhood. So anyway, they showed him the pictures and asked him to pick out Pam. So I'm going to skip past all this and just go to the video. Let you all see the video. Okay. Just a moment. Everyone, please get the likes up. Please like and share. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already.
Kids say and do the darndest things.
We used to laugh and call him an old man.
Quirky and cute, says Erica Ruehlman, that her 2-year-old son Luke seemed obsessed with safety in and around their suburban Cincinnati home.
Very cautious about like crossing the street, anything that might be hot or dangerous or high.
And then there was that other fixation.
I think I specifically asked him, why did you name the ladybug Pam? And he said, I just think it's a nice name.
Soon, everything was Pam, with increasingly peculiar comments.
He used to say when I was a girl, I had black hair, or he'd say, I used to have earrings like that when I was a girl.
The stay-at-home mom wondered, where was he getting these ideas? Luke's answer changed their lives forever.
I was like, who is Pam? Out of frustration. And that's when he turned to me and looked at me and said, well, I was. And I was like, what do you mean you were? And he was like, well, I used to be, but I died and I went up to heaven. I saw God. And then eventually God pushed me back down. And when I woke up, I was a baby and you named me Luke.
Now she was really confused.
She called me and said, something weird is going on.
Erica's mom, Lisa Trump, remembered a book she'd read in the 70s by the late Dr. Ian Stevenson, who clinically studied past life claims.
We started to realize that perhaps we did actually have something there.
But with a terrifying twist.
So I decided to go ahead and ask him further, do you remember how you died? And he looked right at me and said, well, yeah, it was a fire. And at that point, he made like a motion with his hand, like he was jumping off of a building.
A tall building in a big city where Luke said he walked a lot and took the train.
I was like, you sure it's Chicago? He said, yes, I remember it was Chicago. It was Chicago.
Erica plugged the information into the internet.
And that's when I came across the Paxton Hotel.
The Paxton Hotel, a residential building in a predominantly African-American Chicago neighborhood.
Just asked him, I was very casual about it, like, Lukey, what color was Pam's skin? And he just looked right up at me like, duh, black.
In March 1993, a massive fire raced through the property, trapping most residents. 19 died, including a woman in her 30s named Pamela Robinson.
Pam had jumped out of a window to her death. I was really kind of weirded out by it at this point.
And it was about to get stranger. While working with the documentary show Ghost Inside My Child on the Lifetime Movie Network.
You want to look at these pictures?
Erica and Luke's dad decided to put the now 5-year-old to the test.
I had found a picture of Pam and we had put it on a sheet of paper with a bunch of fake pictures.
What's familiar mean?
I didn't really think that he was going to pick the right one.
But with the cameras rolling,
I know someone I can recognize.
But I remember when this one was taken and he pointed to the correct one.
Pam.
Took me a couple of days to wrap my head around it. I couldn't sleep. I thought about it constantly.
They say immediately their thoughts turned to Pam's family still in Chicago. We reached out to them. They said no comment at this time. However, a family member did speak with Erica. And she says she discovered even more similarities.
I know that Pam was a big like Stevie Wonder fan, and Luke like really likes that era of music. She played the keyboard a lot. And one of the things that Luke, his favorite toy at the time was this little tiny piano that he would tote around with him.
And just as Erica was becoming truly connected with Pam's memory, Luke let her go.
It's like he got it all out, he was finished, and he had nothing more to say about it.
But the family continues to share their journey with anyone who will listen, not seeking fame or fortune.
We didn't receive any money for the show.
They tell Luke's story because they say it's a message that needs to be told.
It's a positive one. It is one of unification. It is one of love.
I think it tells us that we shouldn't define the soul by race or gender out of the mouth of babes.
Well, that was very interesting. So, Obsidian Blaze, what does this have to do with reparations? I'm waiting. Now, so what do you guys think about that? I want your input. What do you all think? So does he get reparations? Freedom says the same thing. Freedom over. You are a mess. So you wonder if he gets reparations. Oh my goodness, you all are so terrible. Dr. Evil Hands says, I believe in reincarnation. Let me go back. If I come back as a European white man, I'm going to be pissed. Auntie says, I don't believe it at all. I'm sorry. That's your prerogative, beloved. You don't have to be sorry. That's your opinion. I'm not surprised. I've always believed in reincarnation. I've always believed in it too. But let me say this. I used to wonder when I was younger, if you were reincarnated, can you come back as a different race or ethnicity, whatever? And with that all being said, Freedom Over Equality says, laugh my ass off. Same, I'm going to be mad. Imagine coming back as a male stick. You all are terrible. Listen. Now they probably want some, plus they might say some black people were white in past lives. I mean, maybe some black people were. How do you know they weren't? That's why they might be coons. You all had to, this makes sense. These black people who are coons, they likely were white people in past lives. So do the white supremacists come back as another white supremacist? I don't know, but it would probably be their karma to come back as a black person, be in the street. Okay? Or Judah said, rather come back as a cat. Freedom says too many sellouts. Freedom also says it makes sense. It does make sense to me. Let me tell you all something. What you need to realize is in the other realm, the spiritual realm, there is no race. Race is a man-made construct. There is no race, right? Now, so if a spirit leaves this realm and then returns, how do we know how it comes back? How do we even know it comes back as a person? Judah Queen said she'd rather come back as a cat. Maybe you could. I don't know. I don't have the answers to these things, but I find it very interesting. Now, yes, you're right, Queen. I can agree with that, my sister. Thank you, Blackfoot. Thank you, beloved. I'm black all the way to my soul, says Dervis. Dervis, you were a white man in your past life. So Dervis says, my spirit is melanated. QW says, Pam was just passing through. I'd rather be a fish than male. You all are so crazy. You all are so crazy. I'd rather come back as a bug. Says pretty. Sweepy says, I don't care. Just let me come black as something black. Psalms 58:3 says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they are born, speaking lies. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Judah Queen says, goldfish. So I gather you all don't like the idea that you could come back as another race. Is that what you're saying? Let me tell you something. If you came back as another race, I don't think you would care. I think you would just be glad that you were back. You may think you care now, but I don't think you would care. I think you would just be glad to be here. Okay? I think you'd just be glad to be here. The Hopi tribe talked about this. Really, Moonfae? Yep, that's why I don't believe. The wicked stay straight from the womb. Exactly. Derry says, I want to be clear. Cruel and unusual punishments. Patricia says, you have graduated from the animal realm. You will be human when you come back. Maybe some of these wannabe black white people were black in their past lives. Exactly. Or ex-blackly. Okay? But leave. This reminds me of Good Times episode when JJ dreamt that he was white. I remember that episode. It was hilarious. It's about experience that's why souls come back. But I don't like the evilness of the world. Let me tell you something. If you all know about Dr. Yakub, or Jacob, as I call him, because I clearly think that that's where they get the name Jacob from, because, you know, they didn't have the letter Y back then, or the letter J back then. So a Y was used in its place. But if we listen, you know, to the readings of Dr. Yakub or Jacob, whichever you choose to call him, he says that they were grafted from us. So now you have to ask yourself, if they were grafted from us, could that be why when you come back, you could come back as a black or a white person? Did that ever occur to anyone? Flow Record says, if the planet is millions of years old, we could have been multiple times already. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely. So I don't know how you all feel about that. The story of Yakub is fascinating. Yes, it absolutely is. Absolutely is. And I believe it too. I believe that story. Now, with that all been said, I found that very interesting. You know, I've read and heard many stories about reincarnation. There was a little boy who also came out and said that he was in another life. He was, he said he built the Titanic. He was one of the people who were the engineers of the Titanic, right? But at the same time, let me tell you all something, because I think critically, right? So I listen to things and I don't always, you know, if things that you can't verify, that you can't substantiate, you know, he had some receipts as far as we could see from where he said that he was a black woman named Pam, and then she died in the fire and all that stuff, and they said they looked it up and they found that to be true. Now, if that is true, that is very interesting in fact. But now here's the thing though. Just because people make claims, we can't say that they're telling the truth or not. Right? There's some people that are cons. I'm not saying they are, but there's some people that are cons and they tell stories for clout and publicity. So I don't know. Now, we may like to believe these stories, but we don't have any way of knowing. There's people who said they've died and gone to hell. I don't believe there is a hell. I believe hell is right here on earth. I don't think that when you leave this world, you're going to burn in eternal fire and brimstone, gnashing of teeth. I don't believe any of that. I believe that the white people back in the days of slavery, that they made all that up just to frighten black people into submission and being so peaceful and forgiving and docile. And in fact, a priest from the Catholic Church came out and admitted that they lied and made up the place called hell just to keep the slaves in line. So that's what I absolutely believe. That makes sense to me. I don't believe in hell. I believe that you make your own hell. I believe that just as we can harness the energy to, you know, rise into our higher self, our godlike self, taking us into heaven, which is in the brain, the head. That's why it means heaved up, the word heaven. I think that at the same token, you can take yourself down into hell. That is your low vibrational self, the wicked part of you, the part of you that is low vibrational, right? And sometimes nefarious for some of you. So I think that is what hell and heaven are. So I don't believe in anybody going up to the clouds into heaven. I don't believe in any of that. Those are allegories in the Bible as far as I'm concerned. So some things I just don't believe. I'm over here responding to you when you asked a question. Oh, Hiram, you are too much. The little boy got the story from his father, Satan, to trick us, says Aiden. Thank you, Queen. It's good to know that I'm not the only person that thinks like that. Absolutely, cutie tootie. I would have loved to have seen the mother piss her pants when that child said he was a black woman, says Sweet Pea. Yeah, that was the most interesting part. Not that just he came back, but that he absolutely, Dervis says cloud nine. Okay, not that just he came back, but he was a black woman, so he says. So, ones in the chats, if you believe the story and you think that he actually was a black woman in a performer life, soul is pure, there is no division of any type. It's all meant to keep us divided and conquered. Good point, Gio. So ones in the chat, if you believe that people can come black as a white person, or that white people can come black as a black person. Okay, lots of ones. I'm so glad I'm not a Christian, says LeVar. Okay, so most people are saying putting ones. I absolutely believe in reincarnation. And like I said, I don't think in the spiritual realm that's anything about race and color and all those things. Basil says no. Somebody put 11, 1, 1. Auntie puts 2. And I thought white folks didn't have souls. You all are too much. Hell is on earth. Your negative energy attracts like-minded entities. Says, who said that? Says Chrono Cross. Absolutely. I believe that. Low vibrational. Absolutely. Aiden's going to say no. Okay. Well, this is a good topic of discussion, people. I would be more pissed coming back as a Karen. Says Queen T. Yeah, I don't want to come back as a Karen. I don't want to come. But I tell you this. Here's something to think about. I think that when people return after reincarnation, I think that the soul or the spirit, whatever type of attitude they had in the first life, in the previous life, I think they bring that back with them. I think they bring that back with them. Like, I don't think that some wicked person from another life is going to come back and be just like so sweet, peaceful, and kind. I just don't think so. I think they're still going to be wicked. They may be another race or whatever. I don't know. But I think they're still going to be wicked. Maybe the black woman wanted to have money in her next life. Flow Records now. And good credit. Scripture states you come back. Ada says scripture states you come back to your tribe. You know what? That makes sense too, Ada. Let me tell you something. I don't know if I believe the story. I do believe in reincarnation. I don't know if I believe in the story 100% that he came black as a, white person. You know what could have happened? Now listen to this. When he brings a black girl home, his parents won't be mad. Dervis, your characteristics are still there. Yes, absolutely. I believe that. So here's what could have happened as far as I'm concerned. Maybe this little boy has spiritual gifts. Maybe he's prophetic. Maybe he's connected to the spiritual realm. Maybe he met Pam when he was in when he was in the spiritual realm. And so maybe he's confused and thinks that's who he was. I don't know. I have more questions that I would like to dig into before I just say Flow Records, no, I don't think so. He probably is going to use the black card. I was black in the past life. That movie with Chris Rock, Down to Earth, was funny, but expresses a lot. I never saw it. How come ancient animals never got reincarnated? Good question. How do we know they didn't, though? They could have come back as something else, right? How old is he now? I don't know how long ago that news broadcast came out. It was years ago. But at the time of the broadcast, he was 5. At the time he first started talking about Pam, he was only 2, they say. What I heard was souls who aren't good for God has to keep returning to earth until they are worthy of heaven. I don't believe that, because thank you, LeVar. He says, Queen, what if you came back as Flavor Flav, LOL? Well, seeing as how Flavor Flav has been in existence the same time as me, I find that unlikely. I would have to come back as someone in the future. If I was going to come back, I would have to come back as someone in the future. But I know you're trying to be funny. If I came back as Flavor Flav, hey, Flavor Flav had money, right? At one point. I mean, though he isn't very attractive, you know, and he likes Karen because remember he used to date Brigitte Nielsen. So now I wouldn't prefer to come back as Flavor Flav. No, 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 no. Okay, Dr. Sabi, maybe. You know, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. I mean, well, those are the ancestors. So clearly I couldn't come back as them, but those are people I would prefer as to him. I know one thing. I better come back as someone that can use a comb. Me too. Neither didn't see Chris Rock's Down to Earth movie. Yeah, I didn't see that. He maybe have black blood. His cellular memory could contain those memories. That's true, Patricia. You think it was dinosaurs or beast-like animals on Earth? Yeah, I absolutely think so. I mean, where did they get those bones from? Do you think they made them? I'm just curious. I think that there were. I think there were all sorts of animals that we have no longer. What if you came back as Ahmadiyyah? Newsflash, I did. Newsflash, I already have. I was waiting for you all to pick up on that. Okay? Flavor is Boosie. Blackfoot says Flavor Flav look like a scarecrow. You are way too good looking to come back and say. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Blackfoot. Hold on. Okay, so Crystal says y'all should watch that movie. He comes back white, The Watermelon Man. That's the old one. Check it out. I've seen that, The Watermelon Man. That was funny. I saw that. So anyway, this is all fun, a good topic of discussion. But I'm going to tell y'all like this. Here's the thing that makes me skeptical. I'm going to say this. This is the thing that makes me skeptical. I believe in reincarnation. Yes, I do. I also think that possibly you could come back as another race. You know, would I want to come back as another race? No. No, I would want to come back and be black. But here's the thing. You have to think about this, people. If you were able to come back as another race, how do we know that wouldn't be to teach you a lesson? Because in life, there are many lessons that we have to be taught. So let's just say if someone was racist and they died and they came back reincarnated as a black person, and then they had to experience a black person's life here on earth, maybe that would teach them from the previous life when they were racist and mistreated or discriminated against black people. I could see that as being the lesson. That's the only way it would really make sense to me. Okay? Danny says, you are too cute to be Flavor Flav. Thank you, beloved. Thank you. So with that all being said, I'm going to tell you what makes me just a bit suspicious, or shall I say skeptical about the story. Because I want you to pay attention. All of these stories where they talk about reincarnation, like the one about the boy who said that he built the Titanic, and then he grew up and wrote a book about it or whatever. And then the boy who said, what is the story called? I Know Heaven is Real. Isn't that the name of that story? They made a movie about it. It was a book first. And there was a little white boy who said he died and went to heaven. And he saw God. And he said that God or Jesus was black. You remember how that's? And then this little boy says he was a black woman in a former life. The thing that makes me most suspicious, Sweepy says that makes sense, Queen. Thank you, beloved. Aiden says, are one of the 12 tribes. Absolutely. So now what? Thank you, Original Man. Happy Saturday to you, beloved. So now what makes me a bit suspicious about all these stories is there's a common denominator in all of them. In all of these stories, it was a little white boy who told these things. I find that very kind of suspicious. It was always a little white boy who these things claim to have happened to. Anytime I hear these stories, it's always a little white boy. Not even a little white girl, but just always a little white boy. I want y'all to pay attention to that. Because with the story about the guy saying he built the Titanic in the past life, that was a little white boy. And the story about, he said, the story Heaven is Real, and they said the boy died and came back and saw Jesus and all that stuff, that was a little white boy. And this story is a little white boy. And the other story that I read about years ago, where a little white boy said that he died, his friend killed him, and then he came back and he told them, you know, where the bones were buried and all that stuff. He said his friend killed him and all that stuff. That was a little white boy. There was another story where someone's roommate died. And then the girlfriend of the one who, the other roommate, had a baby. And they said that that baby was supposedly the reincarnation of the other roommate. That was a little white boy. So that's what makes it all suspicious to me. Why is it always little white boys? How come there's no little white girls? How come there's no little black boys or girls? I don't know. That's just more than a coincidence to me. So that's what makes me think that, maybe the parents are coming up with these stories, because you could come up with these stories and feed them to your kids and they wouldn't know any better. I'm not saying that's what they did, but it's always a possibility. So I always think analytically, and I always, examine things, right? I don't just believe what people say. I need more proof. So, and he started off as a whole black woman, not a baby. Nobody starts off as an adult. No, and he didn't say he started off as an adult. I appreciate you and everything you do. Thank you, LeVar, and thank you for your kind donation. Peace, love, and blessings to you. No, he didn't say he started out as a woman. He was saying that when he died, the woman was 30 years old. I mean, she grew up and had an entire life. They said they talked to her family, but the family didn't want to comment. But one of them did say that there were similarities to the young boy and the woman. But she died at the age of 30, so that's where they picked up the story at, because that's the part that he was talking about. But I don't know. Let me tell you something. You know what? At the end of the day, I'm confused, because when I was a little girl, I've always been prophetic and had like psychic ability, whatever you want to call it. I've always been clairvoyant and things like that. But when I was a child, I used to have a reoccurring dream. And in the dream, I was a white woman and I was running from this creature that looked like a reptilian. I didn't know what reptilians were until I became an adult. And then I said, that's the thing that I used to dream about all the time. And I used to have this dream all the time. In the dream, I'm a white woman. I had on this sheer like chiffon white dress. And it wasn't a fancy dress. It was just like almost like a nightgown or something. And I had a basket and I'm out in the woods picking apples and fruits from trees. And this thing rises up out of the lake. It looks like it's got alligator skin. And then it comes chasing me and I'm running from it. And I had this dream all the time. But in the dream, that white woman was supposed to be me. Now, that could have been just a dream. But as I got older, I was thinking, was that a past life that I lived? So I don't know. Maybe you can't come back as someone of a different race or ethnicity. I don't know. But like I say, I am skeptical just because it's always little white boys telling these stories that these things supposedly happen to. But they explored everything else and she won't comment further. Karen not responding. Right. Absolutely. Little Red Riding Hood. Millie, no, not Little Red Riding. Oh, my goodness. Hiram says, oh, my. It could be an alternative life or a different reality or the astral plane, a different avatar. You're right, Gio. That is a very good point there. Sounds like a jacked up Little Red Riding Hood. That's what Sweet Pea says. Hey, listen, I'm just telling y'all, I had this dream when I was like 4. I used to have this dream all the time when I was 4. For real. Dervis is cracking up. I don't know. Maybe it was jacked up Little Red Riding Hood. I don't know. But I'm telling you, I had that dream repeatedly for years when I was a kid. And I don't know how long, but I remember having it for years. Don't y'all try fooling around tonight just to see if y'all coming back as crazy Karen and Brad tomorrow, says Mario. Auntie says, yeah, Queen, that sounds kind of strange. It's never a Hispanic kid or a black kid with these strange occurrences. Right. That's what makes me suspicious. That's what makes me suspicious, okay? I'm like, wait a minute. Now, these people clout chasing. Judah Queen says, getting chased by a reptilian. Yes, and I never knew what a reptilian was until I became an adult. I used to astral project uncontrollably for years. Wow. How about Ristra? Thank you for your kind contribution, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings to you. It's a lot of stuff happened to white people. I wonder where the black people were before. Very interesting, Queen. Great story. Thank you, Millie. So you know what? Did you eat pork before you laid down and had that drink, Queen? You know what? Jill said they probably do happen, but they never get coverage. You know what? That's a very good point. That is a very good point. You know what? That is something that they absolutely would do, right? They wouldn't want to give black people publicity for that. When did the dream stop? Judah Queen says, they stopped somewhere before I turned 6, if I believe correctly. Somewhere before I turned, or after I turned 6. So I had those dreams when I was like 4 years old, I remember. But I think around the time I was 6 or 7, I didn't have them anymore. And I had these dreams like often. Pearlie says, we love you, Queen. And I love you all right, Black. Beloved. Thank you. Most melanated people are very spiritual. They don't like to admit it. This is true. Absolutely. Flo Record says, I used to astral travel. I have done that as well. I'm late, but LOL pork. Yes. No, I don't think I ate pork. I had these dreams all the time. It was a reoccurring dream. So it wasn't because of anything I ate. I literally had this dream all the time, very often. Hell, Black people be too scared to accept it. It says for watching me. This is true. This is true. So anyway, that's all crazy. Listen, I'm going to conclude this broadcast, but I'm going to be coming Black on my other channel, the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur TV show. Did you all hear about the 2 Black men that got pushed into the lake and drowned? That's what we're going to talk about. So I need you all to make sure you're on that channel at 10:30. All right? 10:30, make it 10:35 because I had to set everything up and post it. So be on that channel. I had recurring nightmares often at that age. Yes, absolutely, Hiram. Okay? So with that all being said, I want to thank you all for tuning Black in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV Presents Beyond the Realm. I hope you enjoyed the story. And this is just something for us to think about. I'll talk more about reincarnation, on my spiritual channel, okay? Because that's really something spiritual. But as well. But it's also paranormal because it isn't normal, right? But so with that all being said, you're welcome, cutie beloved. So I want you all, don't forget to tune Black in at 10:35 on the other channel, the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur TV show. Because like I said, I want to talk about these 2 Black men that drowned because some fool pushed them into the lake. All right? So we're going to talk about that. Thank you, Mark L. Definitely will be there in great broadcast, Queen. Thank you, beloved Silent D. All right, so thank you all for tuning in. Like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, make sure you click the notification bell and click the word all. And if you haven't been receiving notifications, please double check to make sure you're still subscribed. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, on Instagram at Divine_Goddess_27, and on Brighton and Patreon at Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and on Twitter at DGoddess27. I think I'm going live on Instagram tomorrow. So if you all want to join me on there and get added to the chat or anything, whatever, I think tomorrow night I'm going to go live on Instagram, okay? So with that all being said, I hope to see you all right Black in the chat on the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur TV show. Peace.